Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Law and You on Independent Television. We're in Benin City, Nigeria. I'm Uyi Agumofwebe. It's a great opportunity again for us to take a look at issues that border on the law, especially given where we are today with many of the legal and judicial issues in this country. One of them we want to pay attention to this week is the enforcement of court judgments. We've seen in this country a real time where judgments are given, for example, and then 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes up to 5, 10 years, those judgments have still not been enforced. And then for many people, it raises the question of whether or not the law really can bite, and what the courts as an institution actually can do or should do or is doing in circumstances such as this. And more importantly, what are the implications where a judgment is given? For example, sometimes compensation is awarded, in some instances against public institutions, agencies of government, and then nothing changes, the judgment is not enforced. What does it say about our judicial and legal system in Nigeria? That's the issue we want to look at on the program today. We're back after this break. Stay with me. I'm joined by a respected lawyer, Dr. Patrick Awosage. He's here to help us shed light on this very critical discussion. It's so good to have you on the program as usual.
It's my pleasure, Uyi. It's my pleasure. And hello, viewers at home.
You know, people always talk about the need to, for justice to be done.
Absolutely.
Somebody said justice goes beyond judgment. Justice goes beyond compensation, whether monetary or otherwise. And then you're asking yourself, what exactly is the concept of justice fundamentally?
You said judgments. Justice goes beyond the judgments.
Yes.
Obviously, until it's enforced, you cannot feel the impact of it. You see, when we talk about justice in that regard, we need to understand that it has to do with you, the appellant or the claimant, right, or whatever you are in the court that the matter is instituted. And when judgment is entered by the said court, then you rejoice in court. You see the victors or those that won the case, and they are excited, and lawyers are embracing the claimants, and they are happy. They go out. But it doesn't end there. It's now for the courts to get the judgments, the order, and draw it up, and the judge will sign and then give it to the lawyer, and from there on you mobilize for the enforcements. I think that is where you really go back to the executive now, the police. They are saddled with that responsibility to ensure that the judgment of court is enforced. Until it's enforced, you will not get the benefits of it.
And then curiously again, that's the reason apparently people are even concerned about what makes it difficult, or if you like, impossible for judgments to be enforced. Yes, we know most times once the court has stated its position by way of delivering judgments,
yes,
in many instances it's now left for the law enforcement agencies, for instance, to go ahead with enforcement. Where that isn't the case, which is against the ideal situation that we should have, what exactly is responsible? Is it a systemic failure, or is it just laxity on the part of some persons within these institutions?
Well, the unfortunate truth is that our country or our system is built around people. Strong individuals, strong political office holders, strong presidents, strong governors, strong senators, and representatives of the House of Assembly. These have been the situation. So when you have strong people, you have and having weak institution, so the institution end up dancing to the rhythm of these powerful politicians or this powerful office holder or powerful connected persons in society, big time businessmen who have affiliations with those that are heading one political office or the other. That's basically the challenge. Now, until we come to the point where as a country we are not looking at who is president, you remember in the debate, I just want to digress a little, when Donald Trump and Joe Biden, who just won the presidential election now, and then he said something, he said, "You shut up," and he just asked, that was funny, you know, you could get a whip if it's a country like Nigeria. Why will you make such comments? You know, you could talk back. I remember Barack Obama was addressing the American people, and a young man was saying something, ranting behind him. And then I said, yes, that's exactly what we're trying to fix. But we cannot get things done by talking behind me. We need to sit down and get talking and engage. You know, he did not hush him down. But their governor of blessed memory, Ajimobi, I remember a scenario like that played out when he said they should bring the child to him. You know, they should bring in
the issue of constituted authority.
You know, and you see the big man, and the enforcer of law, the police, they went to pick the young man up. He was talking about our school have been shut down and we need to do the why. What's happening? And I said, are you a student? He was asking him that question. You look at you, after all I've done for you, you did not do anything for them as a person. You did it as governor. Right. You are to serve them, and they demand, they deserve the right, you know, or rather they have it's their duty to ask you, and it's almost right, and it's on you to explain to them. And you should do that with some level of honor, you know, because you are representing them. You are supposed to serve them. So these have been the narrative. So when you see people like that going back and forth, and then you say, okay, you are in court, at times they even tell you, do you know who you are doing a matter against? You know, even as a lawyer, they try to threaten you and make some, you don't know who. Do you know the caliber of persons you are dealing with? Are they not human beings? Are they not people that are supposed to be subject to the constitution and the rules and regulations and laws of the land? They ordinarily should be, but they begin to make you look like you are kicking against the bricks. It may not work, and eventually maybe you are strong-headed and you go all on and the matter is done, and eventually judgment is entered. So these are some of the issues. How do you move on? Then you now go, okay, we need police. Okay, the police, okay, meets the 2IC or whoever is in charge and meet this, and they will start giving excuses. Okay, I'm not the one, my boss is not on seat, you need to go back and forth. Oh, you want to carry out, okay, this, okay, well, don't worry, please sit down. You know, a whole lot of delay tactics and strategies that to weaken and frustrate the whole essence. I think that has been the situation, and you cannot blame the court again. You know, many people say, the court, then you know, the court, Montesquieu, we know the great philosopher, French philosopher, 1747, he told the world, the 18th century, that look, he came up with he propounded a theory of separation of power that have become enshrined in several constitutions all around the world for that believe and have embraced democratic system. Now Nigeria is one of them. Now he said that you should have a judiciary, you should have an executive, and then you should also have a legislative arm. The lawmaking organ should not be fused with the enforcement organ, so to say, vis-a-vis the judicial, the interpreter. Because if you merge all of them in one, it becomes nonsensical. You remember the likes of late Chief Awemi of blessed memory, senior advocate of Nigeria. At a time, he had a matter against NBA, and he said he was going to represent himself, and then I asked, how is he going to cross-examine? Ask himself questions. You can't be a judge in your own cause. You cannot be asking yourself questions. So he needed to have someone. So we need to separate ourselves or these organs and give it the strength it should have. Now we say we are operating a democratic system in Nigeria, a federative system, and we know the kind of structure we have. These have been the situation. Now a judgment is entered. How will you go with the judgment of a court and then you cannot enforce it? The judge will not leave the chamber and follow you down to enforce judgments. That is not the duty of the judge. The duty of the judge is to give a sound judgment, a judgment that is free from, that is a balanced judgment, a judgment that is carefully looked at. The importance of balance is checked, and then the judgment in their wisdom is entered. And once that is entered, it should happen automatically. That is what a sane society should be. But in our climb here, we don't find things like that. So you have to go back and see, there's a matter, I won't say now, there's a matter we are on now. Even in court, you know, the man has failed to appear at the police station for over 2 years. And he is doing business in town. And now,
can we blame all that entirely on the law enforcement, police in particular?
Like I said, it's a systemic failure. They are part of the system. Now, you cannot blame the judiciary. Why will I say that? Because obviously, it's not on them. You are to do your job by delivering judgment. Lawyers go to court. They have checked through back and forth arguments, motions upon motions, adjournments vis-a-vis written addresses, and you have addressed court have entered judgment. The court becomes functus official. The court has done its job. The court cannot come up again to start saying anything about it. It's a judgment done and dusted. You give it, pass it on, and then they take it to the executive again, if you permit me, to enforce it. Then you go to the office of the AG and all of these bodies within the executive. They are lawyers now, but at that instance, they are functioning under they are with the executive. They are to guide the police. It is the duty of the AGF's office to give, this is what you should do. If they are saying we don't know, and then you give them. But in a situation where, like I said, where you have a strong politician, a very powerful governor, that obviously you cannot institute criminal action against a sitting governor and his deputy.
Because of the
constitution have already done that. But they could be investigated.
Okay.
You could investigate
but not
them.
Prosecuted while in office.
Now, in the sense of that, you say, well, so that not to distract them. It's governance about an individual. It should be running in principles and with other persons working. I don't see personally why that should be. But they say, well, every day the governor will be going to court. That's not correct. It could be, if there are culpable reasons and there are things that you could look clearly, it should face the music. And that's why you have a deputy anyways. And if that comes to bear, okay, in a situation whereby, I remember Patrick Yekowa of Kaduna, then he passed away. Did his deputy not become governor? He did. And there are many persons that have been in office. So why leave that aspect? So it's not a leeway for somebody to, emasculate himself with so much power to do the unjust, so to speak. I'm not saying they are all bad folks. I'm trying to say that if you allow certain powers to be, then the tendency to operate in that manner will be there. Bearing in mind that if I do this, I do that, nobody's going to ask me. And no, just imagine the governor's cousin, and he could put his call through to one or two persons, or the senator's brother, and go around. There were this talk around that, they keep coming around the judges to give them monies and trading blames here and there. I remember, very prominent Nigerians also and politicians have said, I gave XYZ judge money, I gave this one money. All those kind of blames and counter accusation that this is what they have been doing, trying to discredit the judiciary. Yes, I agree that there may be erring judges. Obviously, they are humans and they are part of the system. There could be very corrupt judges. Obviously, we are not saying they are not, but we are saying in a sane system, we're not looking for saint people or saint-like folks, those that are pope-like, that are above board, so to say. If you have a working system, whether a criminal is seated there, he will not be able to exhibit his criminal tendencies because the system is working. I remember a case we had read some time ago of a lawyer who had started crying because of how the judge had lampooned on him in the court. Now, he said this is hippie harlot descending into the arena. The judge is to be an impartial arbiter, not to be taking sides subtly. I've been a victim of this in person. I've seen it, so it's not what we are talking about. That you just look at, like, what have I done? It's not about what you've done. It's about where he's seated. Somebody is remote controlling him from somewhere. And this is what is not healthy. And that is what we see. We cannot blame it on one person. I'm not just blaming the police. The police need help too. I'm not blaming them. I'm looking at the system. So we need to come together. We need to have a formidable system. We should stop worshiping political office holder. We should stop seeing them as, he's the His Excellency. Oh yes, you are the governor or the deputy or whoever you are. Thank God for the office, but our office, you are holding it in trust for the people. So you shouldn't use that office. You shouldn't abuse, and that's why we talk about abuse of office. You could abuse that office by so doing, and if it's provable in court, you could be culpable in that regard.
Well, we're going to take a quick break at this point in time. Dr. Patrick Awosage has been helping us make sense of the challenges that are inherent in inability, or as it were, drag towards enforcing court judgments, because the court itself is an institution, and as such should not and must not be taken for granted by anybody or an institution again for no matter. We're taking a quick break right now. We're back shortly. Stay with me. There is this question I need to ask you quickly now. The fact that we have instances in this country where, for example, judgments are awarded against a government agency to pay some monetary compensation, for example, damages, as they say, to an individual, maybe a member of a family has been killed by a stray bullet from a police officer.
Okay.
So fast forward to that point where judgment is delivered, and the court says, well, you can't pay for life. However, to ameliorate the suffering of the children that this deceased officer has, this deceased individual has left behind, you have to pay 10 million naira. The police, Nigeria police, or any other entity of government in that circumstance will pay 10 million naira, for example, to this the family that this individual has left behind. First year, second year, third year, 5, 10 years, for example. Nothing has been done about it, right? This has serious implications for us, because I'm saying all this to say, when we talk about how that people don't want to go to court because they feel justice, the will of justice turns very slow. Isn't this a factor that contributes to it too?
Well, I in as much as I could sympathize with people in that sense, now, but we must look at it critically. When you have judgment in that sense, now your lawyer should know what to do.
Okay.
Now, this is now the lawyer's duty.
From that point on.
From the beginning, he had been in the matter. He has studied through. He knows exactly what happened in court, and judgment have been entered.
Right.
Now, if you do the needful, and it seems as if things are not working, you cry out. You keep crying out.
Who are you supposed to cry out to?
When I mean cry out, you allow the general public. You could go on the media and you could talk about it, because it's already in print, his judgment, and look at what. And I remember Falana many years ago when he appeared before Justice Chukwu Puta's panel, and right there he told Justice Chukwu Puta that because of his advocacy and activism, that his NYSC discharge certificate was not given to him. And Justice was really, and then probably he had made several unsuccessful attempts to getting that discharge certificate. He didn't get it. Then Justice Chukwu, right on that panel, he said he is telling them now that they should grant or release his NYSC discharge certificate, and it was given to him. Now, there are many media houses you could speak to within and outside of the country. Thank God for BBC and all those big screens now. They now have eyes everywhere. You could speak to them. I'm trying to say that will push the powers that be. Now again,
towards enforcement.
Now again, look at many a times we just say it's difficult, it's not enforceable. Most of the time, the lawyers may not have even done their jobs. They've not done their jobs enough. They'll not say, well, out of maybe probably I don't know how to, or maybe they won't attend to me. You just go once or twice. No, you're in the system already. You know this system. They don't listen to just talking or speaking English around. You need to put in some force. That's the system we have been made to face. So you have to go all the way. You have to keep emphasizing. You have to keep going back and forth to this head office. I just mentioned now that there's a matter on for over 2 years, and it's still pending. We are not relenting, and we're already getting close to doing the needful. Why? Because we were not tired of doing what we're supposed to do. In a civilized climate, it would not have been so. But where we are, you have to put that on. So the lawyer, while charging or trying to make your clients pay you money, try to make them understand ab initio, look at what should be done and what we have to go through. I know of somebody whose house was sold without his consent, and he's been on the streets and he has been back and forth fighting. And now everything is well again, because we have to do what we ought to do. Now again, why people also are unable to, maybe that is done, maybe in the course of trial, there were certain areas that were not exposed. Now maybe, for instance, I'm trying to just come in, paint a picture. You are my brother, and I have come to court to tell court what happened to you. Actually, it happened to me. And the courts have every reason, because I have all the evidence to tender. And then I won the case in court. And we know very well you are living in America. And I'm the one here. Maybe you are my twin brother also. And then in the process of trying to enforce that, the debtor, the judgment debtors have this information.
So they come up with it?
They come up with it subtly and say, look, if you take a step further, we are going to expose you and your entire family. So that could also constitute a wheel, a drag in the wheels of progress. Then at the end, you now begin to say, well, it's not enforceable. It's enforceable. All judgments are enforceable. It may be slow, like we know. You can beat, if you have everything ready handy, you will. Yes, I agree that many a times they say the police, they pay. The police are paying. All enforcement agency, they have been paying. They have been paying. Yes, it takes time.
Yeah.
You have to fight really hard. That is what we should be talking about. Not that they will not obey. They will eventually obey.
No matter how long it takes.
No matter how long it takes. Now, again, you know, there are some that are tied to time. And they now come again with all the application that he didn't process it in there. But you should also know what to do. There is no law that is created in vacuum.
Yeah.
There are remedies, there are leeways, there are ways to remedy what is going off, so to speak. If you are running a relay race and you know, if you don't handle the baton to the next man, you must ensure you give the baton to the next man.
Regardless of the odds.
Regardless of the odds. And even if you are being bold not to do so, do the needful. And you will win at the end of the day. Now, you are there complaining that they are not paying, they are not doing anything, the system is bad. No, you must fight. That is why you are a lawyer. That's why you are an activist. That's why you are fighting for justice. You can't fold your hand. If an ordinary person on the street say, well, no, you that is the lawyer, you should stand up to it and not say, well, this kind of matter, we don't engage in this. Then why did you take the brief?
In the first place.
In the first place, you are being paid, and if you have been paid, then do the job. The heat in the kitchen might be very, very frustrating, but you have to ensure you bring out the pudding from the pot. You must get judgment. When you've gotten judgment, that's step one. Then you set up machineries to ensure it. I got mommy of blessed memory, a very renowned lawyer. I remember he shared a story with us when we were on a chamber attachment in this firm. I'm talking of Sir Alfred of blessed memory. And he talked about why we should be up to our game. That you don't look at all of this. That he remember when the court, he was to enforce a judgment on Akpakpava Road. And he was a little man, a young boy, and it looked like you can really not do so much.
At that age.
Then he followed up. I remember, he said, be diligent. He followed up. He said, when they saw him with 22 police officers, he said they ran out of the house. And the enforcement was ended. So you need to do the needful. So we shouldn't sit down and they say, go back. Like I said, you have all it takes. You know the law. You know, people could be criminally tried in absentia. You know, when you go say, we have been unable to arrest him. We can't find him. Okay, now, you could try them in absentia. And that become very terrible. And judgment could be entered anywhere if he is, whenever it's enforceable. So they could do a whole lot of things in that regard. So we shouldn't.
I would also believe that going back to that same court where it becomes so difficult, it's also possible, isn't it? Where a judgment has been entered, enforcement becomes a problem. Do you have the option, or is there a window that allows you to go back to that same court to say we're unable to enforce for X, Y, Z reasons?
Yeah, you could go back to, you see, like I said, when a court have entered judgment, the court is now fontus official.
Okay.
That means the court cannot alter the judgment or do anything again.
It is sealed.
It is sealed. That judgment in itself is like a certificate from the university.
Right.
It's certified that you have graduated from a particular department. So anywhere you go, everybody accord you the honor of graduates
on the basis of that certificate.
On the basis of that certificate. So going back to the VC to say that they are,
I can't find a job.
You know, I can't find a job. It's out of the. You know, you must go all on with the judgment of court. The judge have already append the signature on that judgment, and it's well circulated round. It's in the system. So all you need to do is to go pressing with that judgment, not going back to the court. What will the court now do for you? Okay, what do you want the court to do? You go to the AG, you go to the commissioner of police, you go talking to them, talking to the enforcement circle, and find ways. Then they will not give you advices. Maybe at times they will tell you, you know, you need to mobilize. We understand this. You need to mobilize men that will go there. Okay. We agree that those boys could be very terrible, you know, and they will not want to give up possession. I remember some time ago in Uniben here, we had some stubborn students in one particular hostel, and the owner had abandoned the hostel because the students, for 3 years, they have taken over the hostel. I said, that's not possible. He said, they are very terrible boys. I said, there's nothing like that. Whether terrible or not, I did the owner. Yeah. There's a system, there's a law, there's, you know, we need to do. And we did the enforcement, and we chased all of them out. And we need to do that. You need to be ready. That is the truth. You must fight with the law.
Which means the issue of enforcement, of course, cannot just be left altogether to the police and other enforcement agencies. It also means that the person to whom judgment has been given has a place, has a responsibility to ensure that they follow through regardless of the challenges.
Yes.
Standing
don't go crying and saying, well, I could not do this.
There's no basis for giving up.
There's no basis for giving up. It's all on. That's how you fight.
I think it's a very incisive point that this my guest today has made on the program regarding the issue of enforcing a court judgment? Shouldn't be basis to give up.
It's also like maybe political cases now.
Yes.
You know, some political personnel have got judgment against police, you know. But again, trying to enforce that judgment, they have other things against you.
Yes.
So you could strike an in-house balance with them. Okay, we just resolve ourselves, and then you come out to the public that you have been seeking all of this, and we could not enforce. There are some hidden truths that you are trying to suppress.
Exactly.
And they say you can't eat your cake and have it. If you are clean, that must come before equity, must come with clean hands.
So you need to decide what to do with your
cake. Need to decide.
That's what we're living. It's on Law and You, and we at Mofwego. Thank you for watching. Our coverage on ITV continues. Enjoy the rest of your evening.